Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everybody. And I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is down in the box below. As much as I would love for this to be my background, my actual living room, it unfortunately is not. But I am giving you guys a little bit of a Christmas gift, as I have an early edition of Pick'em this week, as this is premiering on Christmas Eve of 2024, as this is basically the only time I'll be able to carve out the weekly picks, as it is a short week this week. I'm not going to have my week 16 results in because it is a short week, but this was one of the worst weeks I've had. So kind of got to humble up on that a little bit. But yeah, let's get on to it. These are my week 17 picks of the 2024 season. As usual, I will have the elimination scenarios if there is a game that is involved in one. So let's not waste any more time. And these are my week 17 picks of 2024. And kicking things off on Christmas Day, Wednesday football, a rare Wednesday game. We got the Kansas City Chiefs going on to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. My matchup is right off the bat, and I'm just going to try to keep this at a minimum as best I can. So the Chiefs and the Steelers, Kansas City is 14-1, and the Steelers are 10-5. And, honestly, this one wasn't as easy for me to pick as you might think because, the Chiefs are 14-1 and they've had a lot of lucky bounces go their way this season, and they've been kind of underwhelming on offense this season. But, like I said, they're 14-1 and they've been finding ways to win. So good for them. They're doing what they can. They're doing everything they can to win. And Kansas City, they win this game, then they wrap up the number one seed in the AFC. And as for us, we do not have a clinching scenario this week, as the division title is going to come down to week 18. So we'll go for it with there. I will say the way that the Steelers can win this game is that if we get constant pressure on Mahomes and we're able to make him force passes, because that's just been the thing with Mahomes this season. He has really felt the heat more than ever in his career, and defenses have really been bull rushing him a lot this season. And with this, when the Steelers are fully healthy on the field, we definitely have that type of defense that can do that. So also health is a very big factor in this game for us as well, because the Steelers have a chance to have George Pickens in this game, and they do have a chance to have Larry Ogunjobi and Deshaun Elliott in this game. Those are two of our best defensive players on the season this year, and obviously George Pickens is the best player on offense that we have. So, those guys' availability for this game is definitely going to be huge. So, yeah, also, we also, Kansas City is a 2.5 point favorite here. And typically, Mike Tomlin does have a decent track record of playing as the underdog. So, yeah, there are some factors in this game for the Steelers that they can actually pull off the upset in this game. But I got to be honest, these are just assumptions that the health that we have may be on the field, and that if they are, well, the assumptions is that these guys could play. We don't know for sure if they are, you know, and that's my deciding factor for this game here. I hate to do this, guys, but I got to take Kansas City because we've been on just a bad slump lately, and while I do not want to give up on the team, I do not want to say that we can't win a playoff game. It's getting harder and harder to really say this team can as the weeks go by. But, like I said, that can all change if we win this game. It really can. I mean, I'm not saying that we even have to win the Super Bowl this year. I just want this team to win a playoff game. That's really all I want. So, unfortunately, for Pick'em's sake, I am going to have to go with Kansas City. They are just a better team right now. They have a better quarterback. And overall, like, the offense for us has just been very one-dimensional over the past couple weeks without George Pickens. I mean, Jalen Warren does provide some burstability, but, when it comes to the offseason, we definitely need to look at free agency with receivers, and in the draft, I hope we do that as well. But that's another topic for later. But yeah, this could be the last time I pick against the Steelers, depending on who we play in the playoffs. But for this one, I have to go with Kansas City. I'm sorry, guys. I want to pick us to win, but I just don't have it in me to do it right now. So I'm taking Kansas City, leaving us a stinker in our stocking for Christmas Day. Then the other Christmas Day game, we got the Ravens and the Texans going at it in Houston, as the Ravens are coming off of a 34-17 win over us, and the Texans also played on Saturday. As a matter of fact, the four teams playing on Christmas Day also played on Saturday, so they all have to deal with that as well, and I'm just happy that this 3 games in 10-day stretch is going to be over with. But Ravens and the Texans in Houston, first of all, Tank Dell, I mean, that was a very gruesome injury that he had against Kansas City. I doubt that he's going to play in the playoffs for Houston, to be honest. It really is too bad right there for him. I really don't think it matters, though, because regardless if he was there, I would take the Ravens anyway. Because as much as I hate to say it, Baltimore is playing their best football at the right time. And I have a very bad feeling that Lamar Jackson can overcome his playoff demons this year and the Ravens can win the Super Bowl. As a Steeler fan, it really burns me to have to say that, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it. But, that's just what the Ravens are. When you're a well-ran franchise and you have a smart GM, you bring in a powerhouse in Derrick Henry in the offseason. That's what happens. But I'm going to take the Ravens to win this one over Houston and increase put the Ravens in first place in the AFC North, and that would allow them to wrap it up in Week 18 if they win and if we lose. So there you go right there. I got to go with Baltimore, man. Then we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears going at it on Thursday, December 26th. And I think this is a no-brainer right here. I am going to go with the Seahawks to win this game, as Seattle, they are on the outside looking in, and they still have a chance to clinch the NFC West, but they need a win, and they somehow need Arizona to beat the Rams to put themselves. Actually, you know what? I don't think it'll matter, because the Rams currently have the tiebreaker over Seattle. But the point is, the Seahawks desperately need to win this game, and that's going to set up an all-important matchup against the Rams in Week 18. So I am going to go with the Seahawks to win this game over the Bears. Pretty easy here. Then we got more Saturday football. We got 3 games on Saturday, December 28th, as we got the Los Angeles Chargers and the New England Patriots going at it in Foxborough, first at bat. The Chargers, they are looking to clinch a playoff spot. They are looking to wrap things up in the AFC. And New England, despite the effort they gave against Buffalo, came up just a little bit short. I am going to go with the Chargers on this matchup here. I like them defensively, although I'm starting to get a little concerned about LA defensively, because sure, they held Denver to 6 points the rest of the way after being down 21-10. But the fact that they allowed 21 points in a half against Denver, that is a little concerning to me right there for the Chargers. As for the Patriots, Drake May, he continues to elevate his game up as the weeks go by, but the it's all up to the Patriots to build around him in the offseason, and they gotta draft well. Not saying that they are gonna be the dominant force they were in the 2000s and most of the 2010s, but if they want to be even remotely close to that, they have to draft well. But for this matchup, I am going to take the Chargers to win this one over the Patriots. Second Saturday game, a very important game here between the Denver Broncos and the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, I guess it's very important for Bengal fans because they have the false hope of making the playoffs. But somehow, some way, they are still alive in the AFC playoff picture as they're taking on the Denver Broncos. It's simple enough for Denver. They win this game, they clinch a playoff spot. The Bengals, they lose this game, they're eliminated. So that's why, it's overblown to call this a very important game, in my opinion. But the Bengals are coming off of a win against the Browns. Joe Burrow had another great game. Denver is coming off of a Thursday night loss to the Chargers. As I said last Thursday, they were up 21-10 on them, and they got out, and they ended up losing by 7 points. Denver, they better be careful in this one against the Bengals, because if they gave up that many points against the Chargers, and now they're going up against a Bengal offense that's been very productive all season, that is going to be a disaster in the making for the Denver Broncos here. So this one, I was honestly kind of going back and forth on, because the Bengals, they get off to slow starts and then they typically turn it up as the rest of the season goes by, typically at the end of the season. But I'm going to go with the Broncos here because I want them to clinch that playoff spot, and I think that's what they plan on doing as well. So I am going to go with the Denver Broncos to win this one over the Bengals and end their season. And then the final Saturday game, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. This one is in Inglewood. I mentioned a little bit ago the importance of this game for Seahawks fans. They are going to be rooting for Arizona in this one. The Cardinals got eliminated from contention, but if Seattle wins and LA wins, then the Seahawks live to fight another week as far as the NFC West crown goes. But like I said, it doesn't matter for right now, because I think regardless of what happens, the Rams will hold the tiebreaker over them and still be in first place, because the Rams beat the Seahawks earlier in the season. But I think LA can kind of make that a moot point, as I do have them beating the Cardinals in this one, because the Rams, they have just been playing great football ever since they got off to that slow start. And that's typically what the Rams seem to do nowadays with Sean McVay. So I'm going to go ahead and take LA to win this one, just because I think the Cardinals, they got nothing else to play for, and the Rams have something to play for other than Arizona just wanting to play spoiler. I just don't see Arizona sweeping LA, and they blew them out in week 2. So I'm going to take the Rams to win this one and get the split. Okay, then we got some Sunday games. Man, the NFL has 5 days of football this week. Can you believe that? Anyway, first up, we got the Jets and the Bills. This one is in Buffalo. And to keep it short, the Bills are my lock of the week. I know that they had some trouble against the Patriots, but, at least New England does have a little bit of an identity offensively. The Jets have just been completely lifeless on offense for the most part this season. And I think if Josh Allen is to have a game where he rebounds after a let's call it a less than ideal game against the Patriots, to put it lightly. I think this can be the week to do it against the Jets. So I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills to win this one pretty easily over the Jets. Like I said, this is my lock of the week, and I really don't think I need to say anything more other than that. Then we got the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings going at it in Minneapolis, as the Packers are looking to wrap up a playoff spot, and they play. I'm currently recording this on Monday, so the Packers still have to play the Vikings. But regardless, this is my game of the week right here, and it is also my rivalry of the week, as you can see right here, Packers and the Vikings. So depending on what happens in the Saints-Packers game, Green Bay could have a playoff spot wrapped up, while the Vikings, they are 13-2, and they are amazingly the top wild card in the NFC. Can you imagine having that great of a record and only being the number 5 seed in the NFC? Like, I think anyone can agree with me when I say this. If you were to tell me the Minnesota Vikings would be 13-2 going into week 17 this season, I would think the Vikings would have locked up home field now and they'd be the best team in the NFL. Instead, they're the number 5 seed in the NFC. That just shows you how great of a season Detroit has had and how competitive the NFC has been this year. But man, what a season it's been for the Minnesota Vikings. Defensively, they've overcome just about every offense that's been thrown at their way. And I definitely think Kevin O'Connell is undoubtedly my pick to win Coach of the Year, as I may have said last week. Brian Flores has done a fantastic job as the DC up there. And I think I can speak for all Steeler fans when I say this. If there's one guy that I really regret us moving on from, it's Brian Flores. He's the guy, okay? I'm saying this right now. He's the guy that should have replaced Tomlin as head coach. If you're going to keep a defensive guy as your head coach and you were going to move on with another offensive coordinator, you should have made Brian Flores your head coach, because Brian Flores is just a very good game planner at defense, and he knows how to read offenses very well. And that, I think, he is the biggest contributor, in my personal opinion, as to why Minnesota is 13-2. You know, and it just seems like this Vikings team is just getting more and more fearless as the weeks go by, because they're just not afraid of any kind of offense that's thrown at their way. Part of me wants to take Green Bay here, because I really don't know if I can say, yeah, the Vikings can complete the sweep against the Packers, but I really don't think it matters. I am going to take Minnesota to complete the sweep. I really think the Vikings can sweep the Packers here, simply because of their defense and because their offense just continues to get the stuff done, you know? And I think Green Bay at that point, again, barring what happens Monday night, Green Bay, all they're really going to be playing is for seeding, because they're not going to win the NFC North, obviously. And they may not, they are most likely not going to get the 5th seed. They have to be, they're going to be no lower than 6th. Okay, they're going to be no better than 6th, but no lower than 7th. Okay, that's the thing with Green Bay. So I'm going to take Minnesota to win this one over the Packers here, because I think the Vikings want to make a statement and set up that Week 18 matchup with Detroit, saying, "Hey, you know what? We want that NFC North crown, and quite frankly, we also want home field." I'm taking the Vikings to sweep the Packers here. Then we got the Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints going at it in the Superdome, as the Raiders are coming off of a meaningless win over Jacksonville. So congrats, Raiders. You snapped your 10-game losing streak, but you know what else you did? You ruined your draft positioning, because the New York Giants now have the number 1 overall pick as of week 16. So, yeah, Vegas, even when you're terrible, you can't be truly terrible either. So there it goes right there with the Raiders. The Saints, like I said, they play Green Bay on Monday Night Football tonight. So, yeah, the Saints, I mean, their playoff hopes are gone. They were officially eliminated, although they were basically eliminated after that 7-game losing streak they had. Again, it's just one of those games to where I have to pick somebody to win. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the Saints to win this game. Basically because, the Raiders, they still have a chance at getting that number 1 overall pick. And I think Raiders fans also got to be pulling for the Colts this coming Sunday as well. And the Saints, they at least have some kind of offensive identity. So I am going to go with the Saints to win this one over the Raiders. And speaking of the Colts, next up, we got the Colts and the Giants. This one is in East Rutherford, New Jersey, as the Colts are coming off of a win over the Tennessee Titans by a final of 38-30. And you see, I mentioned this in my recap the other night in my Ravens Steelers recap the other night. I said this, and I continue to say stuff like this. Scores and statistics don't tell the whole story. The Colts-Titans game this past Sunday is a perfect example of that. Why? You look at that final score. Well, first of all, you see Jonathan Taylor rush for over 200 yards against Tennessee, and you see Anthony Richardson also put up some mediocre numbers against Tennessee. And you think to yourself, my goodness, Indy probably would have mopped the floor with Tennessee if I didn't know any better. And sure enough, Indy had a 38-7 lead. They were up 38-7 on Tennessee deep into the third quarter. And the Titans got 23 garbage time points, basically. You look at the final score, you're like, wow, 38-30. It was a close game. No, it really wasn't. Indy was blowing Tennessee out. And the Titans got a bunch of garbage time points because the Colts decided to play safe for the rest of the game and not add on to the lead and catch up to the fact that, hey, well, Tennessee got 2 touchdowns. Let's try to get some of those points back. No. You see why I say that now? But it takes you this game for you to finally realize that instead of just agreeing with me the first time I say it. You have to learn it the hard way. Anyway, Indy is still alive in the AFC at 7-8, and I don't think the Colts are really going to make the playoffs either unless something egregious happens with the Chargers or Broncos. Because let's face it, the Ravens have a playoff spot wrapped up, and the final 2 are going to come between the Broncos and the Chargers. So I don't think Indy is going to make the playoffs because the Chargers and Broncos basically control their own destiny. While the Giants, like I mentioned, they have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And if you're a Giants fan, you should be hoping you should actually be hoping the Giants lose this game and finish 0-9 at home. You know what's so funny about this with the Giants at home this season? The New York Rangers, New York City's hockey team, they have a more recent win at MetLife Stadium than the Giants do. That's just mind-blowing to think about. The New York Rangers have won a game at MetLife Stadium more recently than the Giants have. That just blows my mind. That's how bad the Giants have been at home this season. They're going to be 0-9 at home after the Colts beat them, and New York falls to 2-14, which I believe would set a franchise record for most losses in Giants history with 14 losses. In other words, this is the worst season in Giants history. I am going to take the Colts to win this one over the Giants and keep Indy's very slim playoff hopes alive going into Week 18. Then we got the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Bucs going at it in Tampa as the Panthers are coming off of a surprising overtime win against the Arizona Cardinals that knocked the Cardinals out of playoff contention. And Carolina is 4-11 on the season. So, Yeah, I picked Carolina a week too early. So there you go. They're right there with Carolina. They're just basically playing to play spoiler at this point. While Tampa Bay, a very degrading loss for them on Sunday night. They had a chance to really put their foot down more on the Falcons in the NFC South chase, but they had a bad game against the Cowboys, turned the ball over, game-sealing fumble, and there you go right there with Tampa Bay. They're now 8-7, and because Atlanta swept them in the regular season, they are now counting on Atlanta to lose the rest of the way in order for Tampa to clinch a division title. So there you go right there with Tampa Bay. Um Last time these two played, they did go into overtime, so maybe Carolina can make it 3 overtime games at least this year and 2 consecutive weeks of going into overtime. But I am going to take the Bucs to win this one, complete the Panthers, because Tampa, like I said, they still got something to play for. They want to wrap up that NFC South. They want to clinch it despite getting swept by the Falcons, while the Panthers, they're playing for positioning and they're playing for draft position and for spoiler at the same time. I don't think Carolina's going to end up with the first overall pick, but it could happen. But depending on what happens with the Giants, but I am going to take the Bucs to complete the sweep of the Panthers. Okay, guys, we got the lump of coal game of the week, aka the toilet bowl, but it's different this week because it's Christmas time. This is your lump of coal game of the week. The Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars going at it in Jacksonville. Well, the Titans, as I mentioned in my Colts entry, they lost 38-30 to Indianapolis, but like I said, that was not a close game. Tennessee was losing 38-7, and they got a bunch of garbage time points to make it closer than what it was. It really was not a close game. And then you got Jacksonville. They lost to the freaking Raiders of all teams. So I am done taking Jacksonville. I'm done having any kind of confidence with them. I don't care who they play. But I can really say the same for Tennessee as well. I don't have any kind of confidence with the Titans either. So this is just a battle of somebody has to win. They have the same record, I believe, at 3-12. It just boggles my mind how bad of a matchup this is. But I think I'm going to go with the Titans to, I think, earn the split over Jacksonville. I can't remember who won the last matchup between the two, and honestly, I don't care. But I'm going to take the Titans to win it here because Tennessee, at least they have some kind of offense, and at least the defense at times lives up to the reins. Jacksonville just has nothing. I'm going with the Titans to win this one. Later slate of Sunday games. First, we got the Dolphins and the Browns going at it in Cleveland. I don't know why this is a 4 o'clock hour game, but so be it. But we got the Dolphins and the Browns, and I am going to take Miami right off the bat here as the Dolphins. They are in the same position as the Colts and the Bengals. They're barely alive in the AFC playoff picture. And the Browns, they just have no life whatsoever. The Browns have to be the dumbest franchise in not just the NFL, but in all sports. Why are you benching Jameis Winston based off of a couple of bad games, and you're starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who can't throw his way out of a paper bag? The guy couldn't throw out his back, for crying out loud. He is an awful quarterback. He really is. And they're trying to see that, Stefanski's trying to see that if he can be the backup for the team. Are you serious, man? I sat down here and I was like, why do Browns fans want Stefanski fired? He's easily been the best coach they've had since Belichick went away. I can kind of see why now. And more delightful news for Steeler fans. Guess what Myles Garrett came out and said? Myles Garrett came out, well, not just for Steeler fans, but for the AFC North in general. Delightful news and fun and hilarious news for Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals fans. Myles Garrett came out and publicly said that he does not want to be a part of another rebuild for the Cleveland Browns. In other words, he doesn't want to be a Cleveland Brown anymore. Only the Browns could get a generational talent like that in Myles Garrett and still mess up with him. Why? Because you're the Browns. The Browns is the Browns. Sure, you may have won that playoff game matchup over us, but guess what? Juju's narrative is completely right about you still. You're the Browns. This is what you do. This is why no one takes you seriously. This is why everybody freaking laughs at you. You're the Browns. Okay? The fact that you're starting Deshaun Watson next season, even though you know he's a steaming pile of goat crap, even though you know Jameis Winston is the better quarterback, you're still starting him. You're the Browns. That's who you are. And I'm taking Miami to beat you easily. Next, we got the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles going at it in Philly. These are the only two late slate Sunday games. Yeah, just weird scheduling on Goodell's part. Anyway, Cowboys and the Eagles going at it in Philly. Well, the Cowboys, they got a win over the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, a game in which the Cowboys defense played surprisingly okay for their part this season at least. And Cooper Rush actually turned in a solid game for the Dallas Cowboys. And even though Dallas is eliminated from contention, they're still playing for Mike McCarthy, even though I don't think McCarthy should be the coach of Dallas, but it seems like the players like playing for him, so it is what it is right there. Philadelphia, they ended their winning streak against Washington in heartbreaking fashion, but it's very unclear right now if the Eagles can get the first seed in the NFC. Because in that Washington game, not only did the Eagles lose the game, but they lost Jalen Hurts to a concussion. And he's in concussion protocol right now. And I would wager that he is not going to play on Sunday. Then they had to go with small hands Kenny Mittens. And Kenny Mittens did not do well in Philly. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you think I'm being too hard on the guy. The guy stunk in Philly as expected. And he also broke his ribs in that game as well. So I don't know what Philly's going to do as far as their quarterbacks go. I really don't. You know, Kenny Pickett says that he can play, but that's to be determined as well. So I don't know who Philly's third stringer is. Any Eagle fan in the chat or down in the comments, you can inform me on that. I don't know if you still have Trace McSorley, but anyway, Philly, I don't know what their quarterback situation is right now. So for that matter, I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys are my upset this week. That's right, baby. The Dallas Cowboys, I think, upset the Philadelphia Eagles this week. I mean, unquestionably, if Jalen Hurts was the starter, I'd take Philly all day. And maybe the Eagles defense can play kind of well against Cooper Rush. But the fact that the Eagles do not have an unknown factor at quarterback for this game, I think is a big catalyst here. So they got to go real run heavy with Saquon in this one as well. So yeah, I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys are my upset of Week 17. All righty, next up, we got Sunday Night Football. Check your local listings as we got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Washington Commanders in Landover. I would say it's Kirk Cousins' homecoming to D.C. because that's where he started his career off, but Kirk Cousins, I don't think he's going to be playing this game because Michael Penix got the green light to go for Atlanta. You know, the Falcons, they are back in first place in the NFC South, and it's going to come down to week 18, in my opinion, between Atlanta and Tampa. They don't play each other in week 18, but you know what I'm saying as far as the NFC South goes. Washington, they have a chance to wrap up a playoff spot. They're 10-5. They defeated the Eagles in the final seconds. Jaden Daniels came through in the clutch, and I think that restored the Rookie of the Year talks for Jaden Daniels. Incredible rookie season for him. He fell off the map a little bit, but I think that win right there restored the Rookie of the Year talks for Washington, or for Jaden Daniels. And Washington, they could be a tough team to beat come playoff time. So Atlanta, they're just too inconsistent. They blew out the Giants, and I am going to take the Commanders to win this one, but I will make this my spread of the week just because I do think Atlanta has some kind of life on offense now. They do have a little bit more confidence. You can tell the offense looked a little bit better with Michael Penix in there, whereas Kirk Cousins just showed that he's just completely washed. So I am going to take Washington to win this one, and like I said, this will be my spread. 26-20. I think Washington covers, and they win this one over Atlanta. And wrapping up Week 17, we got the final Monday Night Football game of the season. It's a rematch of last year's NFC Championship between the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers going at it in San Francisco. Well, the story between these two last year, as the Lions had a 17-point halftime lead against the 49ers, and San Francisco rallied back to win and go to the Super Bowl. But the Lions, they're still the same strong team from last season, and they want to snatch up that NFC North and the first seed in the NFC this time, whereas San Francisco had it last year, but the 49ers are eliminated from playoff contention as of Week 16. So I think at this point, the Niners just need to focus on draft positioning and regroup for 2025, and they can go from there. And so for that matter, I'm going to say the Lions go to Santa Clara and they get the win over the 49ers to avenge that bad loss they had to them in the NFC title game. So, yeah, Week 18 between Detroit and Minnesota. That's going to be one hell of a matchup, but I am going to take Detroit to win this one over San Francisco. That'll do it. Those are my Week 17 picks. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Merry Christmas, everybody.